Okay, here we go. Thank you so much, worship team. That was wonderful. Thanks so much for having me here this morning, giving me some of your chapel time this morning. It's an honor to share this stage and this series of faith stories with some of the awesome staff and faculty that we've heard from over the last few weeks. I didn't make it to all of them, but I definitely made sure I would listen online because I had to see what I was up against. Since I'm closing this thing out, and oh my goodness, these people are amazing. So we're pretty stoked to be here at Point Loma with these awesome people. So I'm honored, and I think it's a privilege to be here. I want to say hi to Liberty Station too. I know they're listening over there, so heyo. And also, this is on my list of things to do. In case my family doesn't believe that I was ever asked to speak in chapel, because I can't really believe it either. I need to take a picture. Okay, thank you. Could be the first and last time I'm asked, so I had to document that. So just a quick little disclaimer. I've been battling a cough, so I've got my water here. I just ate a cough drop. If I have to cough, I'm going to do that. Another disclaimer is that I'm 100% freaking out right now. I'm terrified to be on this stage in front of you all. When Mary Paul sent me the email on September 19th, I never forgot that day, I was like, nope. I shut my laptop and was like, seriously felt like, thanks, but no thanks. What an honor, but like I immediately started sweating and my heart rate went up, and I know that because I have a Fitbit and it doesn't lie. Let me see. I've been checking it all day. Yeah, so my resting is 58. I'm currently at 95, so I'm freaking out. I was at 111 shortly before this, so pray that it goes down. So yeah, with that, I should probably pray right now so I don't pass out up here. So yeah, pray with me. Lord, thanks so much for this day. Thank you for this incredible opportunity and honor to come and just share some of the amazing life you've brought me through. I praise you for the gift of redemption and the gift of your grace. Thank you for everyone in this room right now and at Liberty Station. I pray that whatever you've given me to say lands with at least one person today, and that you are in it completely. And I ask that you protect me from saying or doing anything that might be career limiting. Amen. Okay. Whew, had to say that. If you know me, that is a real prayer. So yeah, when I got Mary's email, I kind of freaked out. The next day, I was sitting with my friend and colleague, Matt Wilson, who's awesome. And I was like, I don't think I can do this. And he was like, no, you're going to be great. It'll be awesome. And he's like, what would college age Beth need to hear? And I was like, whoa, well, that girl would have needed to hear a lot. So that kind of helped me reframe my idea when I was thinking about this. So for a framework for this, I was thinking about how can I communicate my faith story. I love that it's titled Faith Stories. And it made me think about this concept I was introduced to a couple years ago about meeting somebody at chapter 5 of their story. And that's kind of where we all kind of meet people in college, at chapters 4 or chapters 5 of their story. But we really don't know the previous chapters that led up to where we're meeting these people in college. And when we meet people at a certain chapter, we kind of start to draw assumptions, definitely judgments about people just based on chapter 5. And I have just grown increasingly interested in chapters 1 through 4. Or if 6 or 7 if you're a little bit older. So as I thought about that, I was like, whoa, slow my roll a little bit. It made me kind of reflect on my own chapters 1 through 4 or 5 of my life. So that's kind of the framework I'm going in, just to kind of invite you into a little bit of chapters 1 through 5 of my own life. Obviously not the whole story, there's not enough time for that, but just some landmarks that stand out to me as I reflect on my faith story. Big part of my faith story, I would say, are two really big things. People are a huge part of my faith story. People are so important to me, and you'll hear a little bit more about that. And grace, my goodness, so much grace. As I've been preparing for this every single day since September 19th, a verse that's come up a few times, and I have a slide of it if you guys want to throw it up there. 1 Corinthians 15:10, but because God was gracious, so very generous, here I am, and I'm not about to let that grace go to waste. And that's from the Message. But gosh, I believe that. I've been extended so much grace. And yeah, I can't let that go to waste. So I'm saying yes to today, which is crazy. So if I were to think about a title for like my faith story, I was writing in my notebook and I wrote, "It took a village to raise this girl," and then I was like, oh, no, I am so not done. It's definitely taking a village right now to raise me still, and I don't think that will ever end. I think the importance of people and leaning into the people who are in your life, yeah, you can't put a price on that. It's been humbling. I'm an incredibly independent person, so learning to lean into the people around me has been a task for sure, especially during college, going through some things. I really learned to lean on the people God's placed in my life. So that'd be my title. It's Taking a Village. And then a few themes that come out of it, definitely God's relentless pursuit of me. No matter how far, how fast I have tried and how many times I've tried running from the Lord, he continues to pursue me. And that is just amazing. And he's used so many people to pursue me. Again, that village. Grateful for those who have said yes to the call to pursue me. And then his redeeming grace, that scripture, I keep coming back to that scripture. So usually, in a talk or a speech or whatever, there's like takeaways at the end of it, but I wanted to kind of give those now to kind of give you the lens through which I'm kind of reflecting on like what I might want no college-age Beth to know. So the first one would be, don't let anyone make you feel like you have to suppress any part of who you are. You are awesome, and you've been created for a purpose, and don't let anybody make you feel like you need to suppress any part of who you are. You do have a purpose. I'm going to steal from Malin Martin. She always says, God does not create without purpose, and I so believe that. This world needs the person you are becoming, so don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on God. Find your village everywhere you go, no matter where you are. Make sure you find those people. Keep them close. They will, you need your village, and we'll talk more about that. So those are kind of the three takeaways. First, I actually, since I'm going to jump into faith story, wanted to throw up a couple pictures of my sisters and I, so if we could throw those up. So this is us in late 80s, early 90s, lots of denim, definitely some mullets on the part of my older sister Amy up top. And my little sister, I realized, she looks pretty upset in that second picture. I think because she's wearing my dress from the other picture. I was like, good job, Mom. So these are my sisters. I love them dearly. They're obviously a part of my faith story because they're my family. And as I've thought about my faith story, I realized it's we all lived this life together, my sisters and I, but this is just my take on it. I've actually never asked them about their chapters 1 through 4 of how they experienced our childhood. And so I'm kind of excited to talk to my sisters after this. It's been really neat to reflect. So they're great. And then the next one, given that it's Halloween, if you are still looking for a costume, this is 7-year-old Beth as a tube of toothpaste. So all you need is a lampshade, a pillowcase, and some lettering, and you've got a Crest toothpaste. So you're welcome if you need that. Okay, we can take that down. That's good. Okay. Born and raised. I was born in a little town called Porterville, California. Yes, indeed. It's real. It exists. June 1st, 1985, the world was changed forever. That is the day I was born. My parents' worlds were changed forever. That is for sure. In my family, things that really stood out as important growing up, born and raised in the church, so church was a huge part of our life. Church and family were kind of like who we were in the early years. My parents were actually youth leaders in our church. My dad played drums and all the worship teams, and I actually play drums now because my dad, so I kind of got that. Girl drummers, yes, thank you, yes. Church, Sunday morning, Sunday night church, and Wednesday night church, and they were the youth leaders, so we always had stuff going on. Church was big, and then family. Growing up in Porterville, again, Kyle. Porterville's a smaller town. I have a very, very large family, and no one ever really leaves Porterville in my family. I'm actually the only one early on who ever left. No one ever went to college. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, which has been an incredible achievement. College was never really an option. It wasn't like when you go, it was like, well, maybe if I can go. So even going to college is a crazy part of my faith story. Childhood was okay. Like, we were happy. I didn't know it when I was younger, but we had no money. Our dinners were pretty meager. My mom would make something she called stuffed franks, which was just hot dogs that she'd slice down the middle and pour tomato sauce and sprinkled cheese on, and she'd bake them. And we're like, stuffed franks, this is amazing. But it's like, no, we just had no money. But I still love some of those meals. They're so bad for you. But we were stoked, so we didn't care. We were happy. I think my parents kind of protected us from the realities of just not having a lot of money when we were younger, which I totally appreciate. And then my dad got a different job. He started making a little bit more money. They were able to buy a house. And life was actually going pretty well. Fast forward to 12, when I was 12-ish. I remember getting off the bus. This is not what buses do, but I got off the bus and walked down the street coming home, opened the door, and my parents were both home. And they asked my sisters and I to come and sit on the fireplace, and they dropped the bomb. And I was like, we don't have family meetings. What is this? But they dropped the bomb that they were splitting up. And it was kind of crazy because we were like the Leave It to Beaver family. Everyone knew oh, the church people, this and that. But my dad was moving out. He was moving in with someone else, and our world was wrecked. I remember running to my closet, shutting the door, and just sitting in there and just freaking out I have no idea what's going on. And so that was a bummer time for a 12-year-old. My sister was 14. My other one was 10. So we all kind of dealt with it in our own ways. Between 12 and 19, I counted it last night, we had 13 different apartments and homes that we were kind of moving in and out of. There was never really stability. Some of those didn't even have enough beds for all of us, so we would I slept on a couch a lot of the time, which is trying to go to school, living life, and just really, really unsettled. So it was rough. My sisters and I all dealt with it in our own ways. Mine was definitely escapism. I did not know how to deal with the chaos at home, lots of fighting, lots of just chaos. So my way was kind of diving into these different identities that I quickly tried to make my own. And my boss, Jeff Bolster, has this great concept of the person who's out here that everybody sees, and then the person that's kind of hanging out back here. And the person out here that everybody sees, I was doing an okay job for a while managing that person, and actually it was the person over here that went to church, super involved, the person over here who in high school got really into partying, and then like my athletic identity, which is a huge part of my story too. It was exhausting trying to manage all of those different identities. The space between like what people saw and who I was just like that divide was growing farther and farther apart, and reconciling that tension between the two, that was exhausting. And I definitely got lost in that. Getting lost in that, a big piece of getting lost in that, one of the, I rebelled quite a bit in high school. One of the key things that happened, I was 15, and I'm a big personality. When I go, I like to go big. I'm kind of gnarly that way. I have a lot of energy. And like when it's turned in the right direction, that's great. But one night, I went a little too big, and I don't remember much, but I remember waking up a couple times. Once in an ambulance, and I was trying to rip an IV out of my arm, and I was 15, which is just crazy to think about. Ripping an IV out of my arm, and then I remember waking up again. I have no idea what time it was, but I remember I was in a hospital room. I remember seeing my mom in a corner crying, and then I saw my pastors on the other side of the room. And I do recall being like, oh my gosh, my pastors are here. Like, great. But I had alcohol poisoning. Like, my levels were through the roof. Almost died. And of course, I didn't realize the extent of that at the time, but that was crazy. And I was so embarrassed to have my mom and my pastors see all that. But one of the coolest things, again, about that village, that same pastor who was there in that room is also one of the pastors who married my husband and I, which is just awesome to have that thread continue with you. So grateful for the people that, again, continued to say yes to sticking alongside me in my journey. Another part of my story is athletics. Sports has always been a big part of my life. I played volleyball, water polo, and basketball, and then volleyball ended up being my sport. I was so lost during that time. I didn't really have purpose, so my athleticism really became my purpose. And my first couple years, I played community college volleyball. And before going to community college, I'd kind of started going to church again. I was doing a little bit better, but kind of lost that village who was kind of carrying me through that, and my teammates kind of became my family. And that's collegiate athletics is just a kind of a different world. Those become your homies, and they're who I was doing my life with. They definitely didn't always have my best interest in mind. I had some friends who were actually really, really mean. I just didn't really realize it at the time. They kind of made me feel like who I wasn't good enough. A couple girls actually said, like, you say some weird things sometimes. I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I say funky things sometimes, but I kind of like that. But at the time, like, I was just like, okay, like, I must have nothing good to say, so I'm not going to talk. So I really started to suppress a lot of who I was, which just kind of allowed me to kind of be a chameleon and just be whoever anyone wanted me to be in that moment, which is a very dangerous place to be living in. During that season of life, there was a lot of drinking, drugs, sex. I was a very, very, very lost soul. And again, so grateful for the people that never stopped praying for me, for God continuing to pursue me through that. I was running so far from him so fast. And this is like 19-year-old Beth, which is just crazy to think about. But yeah, so grateful for the people that stood with me. Something that happened, it actually blew my knee for the second time, my ACL, my right ACL, in college, my sophomore year. And I was devastated. I was set to go play at a 4-year. And again, that was kind of my identity, was my athleticism. And when that happened, I was done. I had no idea what I was going to do. Like, I was no longer the athlete. And I was just like, well, I'm done. So kind of was lost again. I took that summer and the semester off, and one of my best friends hired me. I worked for her for a little bit, and then I somehow made my way to Point Loma. Point Loma was never on my radar. Didn't really know much about it. But by the grace of God and a whole other story, I made it to Point Loma. Transferred in the spring. Was not transfers. You're all amazing. Yes. one? That's great. It was a spring transfer. Transfer wasn't like it's so great now. Back when I came in, that was, I think, 2006 when I transferred. It was just a different world. You guys are so well taken care of, the transfers. It's amazing. I wasn't sure that I made the right decision. I actually was pretty like, what did I just do? I do not want to be here. I came wanting a fresh start, had I had every intention of like living the straight and narrow, no intention of dating, and living the straight and narrow. And then I met Justin Denney, my husband. Little side story, he's actually from Porterville too. When I transferred, I didn't know he was a student here, and we were like walking actually out in front of Brown, and he passed and he's like, Beth Aiken? And I was like, who are you? And then I realized it was Justin Denney. And then we started dating. It was a breath of fresh air to see somebody from home because I wasn't into the Point Loma scene. He lived off campus, and he was kind of living his own life off campus too. So I was like, well, I know how to do that kind of stuff, so I'm going to hang out with you. And I definitely got right back into my old habits. So that was, old habits just kind of come back easily, especially when you're lost and you don't feel like you have purpose. My time at Point Loma ended up being incredible. As I'm looking out here, I remember kind of where I used to sit in chapel, and I remember sitting in chapel listening to the speakers up here and just kind of wondering I remember this, it's crazy. I wonder what it would be like to do that. And I was like, great, now here I am. Why did I ever wonder that? So be careful. Because again, this is terrifying. But it's just God's redeeming grace. There are so many times where I should have wound up dead on more than one occasion, which is gosh, if I ever have kids, I so do not want that for my own children. Just some high risk behaviors, and even so, the Lord has pursued me. Even when I was living in all of that, I still went to church and did the church thing. So grateful for those seeds that were planted. It's definitely kept me in. So God's redeeming grace, his relentless pursuit of us, he loves you. He loves us, and he so wants you to pursue him. And I didn't really get that while I was a student at Loma. It wasn't until more of my early 20s that I really understood that, and I understood that through people. Again, people are a huge part of my story. For my husband and I, this is a season of life where we're really needing our people now more than ever. Our village really is important to us, and I didn't tell any of my friends I was going to, first I'm going to read you, I'm going to do this. That I think it's important to recognize the people in your life who hold you up, who don't give up on you, who say yes to God in coming alongside you in your journey. So I would love my village to stand up, which would be Justin, my colleagues, all my friends up here. Please stand. Yes. Colleagues, if you ever worked with me, you're my colleague, you're my friend. I would love my RAs if you would stand up, past and present. You don't have to clap for him. You can clap for him. And don't sit down. Please don't sit down. I think the importance of a village, and this is, again, just a snippet of my faith story. I would love to have coffee if you want to hear more. I would love to hear about yours. People are so important. I'm an incredibly independent person. I was rolling, doing life on my own, and I had to be broken to realize how important people were. George, you can stand up if you would. That'd be great. Thanks. People are so important. So I think it's important to look around and see these people. I think if everybody else would stand up too. That's everybody in the room. Go ahead and stand. This is interactive. I think if you take some time, like even in reflecting on your own chapters 1 through 4 of your story, know that everybody standing and sitting around you right now, like they also have a chapters 1 through 4. Be mindful of the people around you. If you look around, like this is an incredible village standing around you. And I did not know I was going to say village so many times. It's starting to sound weird. These are my village people. But it's real. This is amazing. So I kind of want to just like my takeaways again, now that we're all standing. I want to just kind of speak these over you. If they land, awesome. If not, maybe they will 10 years from now. Don't let anyone make you feel like you have to suppress any part of who you are. You are awesome. You do have a purpose. God does not create without purpose. The world needs the person that you are becoming. So don't give up on yourself and don't give up on God. Find your village. Find your village everywhere you go. Lean into your village. Be the village for somebody else. You can't put a price tag on it. So with that, I'm going to close us in prayer. So pray with me. Lord, thank you so much again for this opportunity. Thank you for the ways in which you've stayed with me through my story. Thank you for all the stories represented in this room. There are so many. There's a lot of life here in this room and at Liberty Station. And I pray that you just keep us protected, keep us in your safety, bring people in our lives who we can lean into, especially when it gets tough. Remind us that we have purpose and that we are called by you. Be with us as we go from here. Remain in us. Keep us grounded. I'm so grateful for this place and for what Point Loma has been in my life. And I just pray that students here and staff and faculty can just get a little glimpse of, the burning love I have for this place and for the grace that you continually extend us. Thank you so much for all you are. In your son's name, amen. You are dismissed.